Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dynamis pod. This is Robert. Thank you for joining us today. I have on here as my esteemed guest, Mr. Max Zanan. Max, take it away. Introduce yourself to the people.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And
Certainly.
I've been in automotive this is my 26th year, worked in a car dealership. I think I held every single position known to men. And then I transitioned about 16 years ago into F&I products, reinsurance, or dealership consulting, compliance. And, to be honest with you, outside of automotive, I don't know anything. This is the only industry I've ever worked in.
Sure. And that's with a lot of people. I mean, they may have worked at different spots inside of a dealership, but maybe they've walked by. And this is something I was thinking about last night. There's often many people at the dealership that walk by every day that really don't know what happens in the magical corner office where the F&I department is at. So if you could, for people that are inside the dealership, maybe explain to them a little bit about what happens, inside the dealer.
Well, general public, unfortunately, have a preconceived notion when it comes to F&I. And a lot of times people go into F&I office with their guard up
Certainly.
because they read somewhere on Yahoo, news that they shouldn't buy certain things that are being offered. But the primary function of the F&I department is to get the customer approved, whether it's financing or leasing, because majority of customers do not pay cash.
Certainly.
So the finance manager has to know how to read a credit bureau, understand the credit profile of the customer, make
Hmm.
sure that the correct vehicle is being shown to that customer, because it makes no sense to show a Cadillac Escalade if you are a first time buyer, right? No
Certainly.
bank, on planet Earth will ever give you a loan.
That's
So
correct.
there's a lot of interaction during the sales process between the desk and the F&I office. And then the job is to submit that credit application together with the deal structure according to the bank's guidelines. So you have to know the bank's programs and rebates from the manufacturer in order to structure the deal correctly and to get the best possible approval, right? Because not all banks are created equal. And a bank A might give you a 7% interest rate, but a good
Sure.
finance manager knows that maybe there's a bank B that actually will do way better and maybe get you at 5%. So that's the first, I guess, level of F&I. The second level is the actual interaction with the customer,
Hmm.
explaining to them what the retail installment sales contract actually means, because there's a truth in lending disclosure on
Yes.
every contract that shows the customer their interest rate, amount financed, and the finance charge and the total price if they keep the loan for entire term. So
Sure.
I have to explain to them that there is a cost associated with borrowing money, right? And
Yes.
then they have to go and offer certain protection products. And these protection products are really good for the customer, right? I
Yes.
don't care what Yahoo says, right?
Right.
If you're financing or leasing a car, I think gap is a must, right?
Yes.
Because God forbid you total a car and the actual cash value of the vehicle at the time of the accident is way lower than the amount financed. Whether you
Right.
like it or not, if you don't have gap, you're going to be on the hook. The bank is not going to forgive you,
That's
and
exactly right.
that gap could be five, seven, $8,000. And I think we all know, unfortunately, a majority of Americans do not have $1,000 saved for an emergency.
No, they don't. I think the last thing I see was about $400. Like someone, if they got into a pickle where they needed money, $400 is like the max. So you're right.
Exactly. And same goes for a vehicle service contract, because I don't care if you buy a Honda that has a phenomenal reputation or a Toyota, right? That's considered the most reliable car. Manufacturers know what they're doing, right? So there's a reason why a Honda or Toyota has a 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper to bumper warranty. It's not 37 months and it's not 37,000 miles, So I promise you that they did the math and they know that after 3 years of 36,000 miles, there's a high probability that things are going to start going wrong.
Sure.
And they don't want the liability. And you can think, right? And honestly, you can believe that this is what the most reliable car. But what I tell every dealer is when you sell the car, and it is the most reliable car, whether it's Toyota or Lexus, you should take your customer to your service department and show
Yes.
them how busy you are. And if this was the most reliable, the best thing since sliced bread and canned beer, right? Your service department would be completely empty. It'll be a ghost town.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never seen an empty Lexus or Toyota service department. So the point being is that you definitely can see value in a vehicle service contract, right? Because again, the beauty of the vehicle service contract from the consumer's perspective is that it's a fixed price
Yes.
and it doesn't matter, right? What's going to happen to the cost of parts or
Sure.
cost of labor. You're locking in at today's prices. And again, listen, I think everybody knows inflation is real, you know,
Absolutely.
and parts go up in price and the labor rate goes up in price. The vehicle itself goes up in price. So there's a tremendous benefit in buying that vehicle service contract. And on top of it, these service contracts are transferable. So
Hmm.
even if you decided to sell that car privately down the road, you could together with a service contract. And I think it will give an additional peace of mind to that next buyer, knowing that the vehicle is covered.
Yes.
So
Yeah. And
this is
some of
part of
these,
the job, right? So first you have to
yeah,
get them approved, then you got to sell them product. And the third part of the job is probably the most important. You have to get the deal funded.
yes,
Because if you don't get the deal funded, the first two parts are completely irrelevant.
right. And you
So
don't
you
want
have
it
to
to be
know,
rewinded either.
right? So you have to know exactly how to structure a deal to be within the approval guidelines. You have to have all the necessary documents that the bank requires in order to fund the deal. And I think an ability to fund the deal and have very few contracts in transit is what separates a real professional F&I manager from an amateur who only thinks that the
Sure.
job is to sell products. If you
Yeah. I
don't
think,
get the deal funded, the cash flow of a car dealership is eliminated. And without cash flow, you cannot survive and it's game over.
yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that coming from the back side of the counter, moving up into fixed operations and being a service director a couple different times. One of the things that I like to see the sales department and, kind of butts into, F&I is to bring a new car customer back, even if it's a used vehicle. And I've been at many places where this handoff from sales to service was not done correctly. Sometimes, and most of the time, it was never done at all. A lot of people don't realize that's probably one of the best things that you could do inside of a dealership to keep that gross profitability happening and that cash flow. What you're speaking to is to make sure that you're introducing the sales side, that new customer, even if they buy used or if it's CPO, bring them back and introduce them to the service department, because the old saying is the sales sells the first vehicle, service sells every vehicle thereafter. So
So, I think there's a huge problem that we have with fixed ops, right? And the problem is that 97% of dealer principals and general managers came up through sales.
yes.
And I can tell you, with 100% certainty that majority of them do not understand fixed stops at all.
Sure. No,
If you don't
I've
understand,
witnessed it from the inside. I know.
if you don't understand something, how can you manage it? Right. So if you
Hmm.
don't understand what your fixed stops department does, you are not going to do this sales to service introduction because you don't understand why. I'll give you another example. Besides the sales to service introduction, you know, a lot of dealers make a mistake and they sell prepaid maintenance provided by the OEM, as opposed to selling prepaid maintenance that's only good at their dealership,
Sure.
right? Because the OEM maintenance gives me, the customer, a license to go to any franchise dealership of that brand in
Sure.
the United States. Therefore, the retention kind of goes down, right?
Sure.
So, what I advise all dealers to do is first give away the first year of prepaid maintenance in the price of the car. It will help you stand out from competition. It will also train your customers to go back to your service department and build a relationship with the advisors. And yet,
Certainly.
listen, there'll be no upsell on the first visit or the second visit. However, at some point, right, either you're going to upsell this prepaid maintenance to a longer term in F&I, and then you'll lock in that customer for 3 or 5 years. And then
Exactly.
you definitely can do scheduled maintenance and other repairs, right?
Yeah.
A lot of dealers don't understand that. And then, here's the scary part. I think you would agree. Once the factory warranty runs out, the service retention drops by 70% at the very minimum, right?
Easily.
Easily, right? So now
Hmm.
you are missing out on the most profitable customer pay labor work, right? Because the
Yeah.
consumer has made a decision to either go to a local mechanic or a national chain. And that
Yes.
decision is based on two factors. Right? First, they believe that it's going to be cheaper. And second, it's going to be more convenient.
Exactly.
Now, the job of the dealer, right, is to be prepared for that.
Sure.
So why not display a competitive board, right, in your waiting area and say, hey, you might think that the brake, the brakes are cheaper at XYZ local mechanic, but
Sure.
in reality, it is not the case. Or what if it's the same price, but we use genuine factory parts, right? And we use OEM trained technicians. And now these vehicles are like space shuttles, right? On wheels. I don't know if I could trust the local mechanic because I don't believe they have the tools or the knowledge to work on these modern cars. Right.
Sure.
And when it comes to inconvenience, that's something that the dealer has to look in the mirror, right? And mystery shop their own service department and try to schedule an appointment. And if you go into online, right, and they have an online scheduler, let's say like X time,
Hmm.
and you want to schedule an oil change and it says the next available is in 2 weeks, you lose the battle. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Nobody's
exactly right.
Nobody's waiting 2 weeks for an oil change. It's today or
No.
never.
Yeah. No, that's true, and I've seen that from the inside. I, was interviewing at a place one time to get into to be a service director, and I mystery shopped the place and waited, for my, appointment, and I didn't show up on purpose, of course, because I'm literally right in the middle of this entire deal with me going there to work. So, I once I got the position, I went in and spoke to management, and I'm like, "Look, I made 3 appointments over, the space of, like, 4 or 5 days." And I said, I missed every one of them under different names, missed all of them. I said, no one from service reached out to me at all. Not one time. Over just 3 appointments. And I'm like, if that's happening every single time, like imagine the amount of revenue that you're losing as a exotic car dealership that wants to be the number one, in Dublin, Ohio. Like, how is it that you're ever going to get there if you got people that's in service that are not actually contacting you back at all if you miss an appointment? Like missed appointments, any follow up at all is really lacking in the automotive industry, sadly. And you're right. After so long, it's not very long sometimes, that transition over to the other 70% of the automotive market in America for service leaves the dealership and does end up in someone else's arms. So it's like, why would you ever run customers off? It seems like, really a cash rich environment industry that we have. It's $150 billion a year right now in America for the retail repair side alone. So like, it's crazy for that to even be happening.
But again, going back to my point that 97% of dealers came up through sales. So
Yes,
their answer to all of their problems is to find a way to sell more cars.
right.
But it is impossible, right? It's just impossible. You cannot sell more and more cars year after year because you're constrained by your market. And if you're in a small market, let's say the population is 25,000 people, how many cars can you possibly sell, right?
Exactly.
So, and I saw these crazy numbers, 19 million people a year go to Jiffy Lube.
Yeah.
30 million people a year go to Valvoline. Another 12 million people, I think, go into Midas and Meineke.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about 60 million repair orders that are in front of you. You have to bend over and pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. They're literally, they're printing their own money at these places. Like,
But
and
think of it this.
they've got a
So
good
I
market
think
lock on it.
I think Jiffy Lube started franchising in 1979.
I believe
So
that's true. Yep.
just imagine, right? There was a time, right, when whoever it is who created Jiffy Lube had to go and raise some money, right, from the investors. So let's imagine, I am that guy and I come to you and I say, Robert, I have an idea. I'm going to change oil for a living. And probably you would say, Max, this is insane, right? Because why wouldn't the customers go back to the dealers to change oil? And I'm going to say, I promise you that the dealer is not capable of making an appointment or doing it without an appointment. And that is the entire business model. And I also guarantee you that you're not going to invest because your fear would be that if the dealers realize that
Sure.
they can put Jiffy Lube out of business within 12 months, right? And most likely you wouldn't invest. And now you would be like, oh my God, how could I miss that opportunity, right? Because since 79, right, it has been 47 years. And Jiffy Lube gets bigger and better every year. And the business model is the same. The only reason Valvoline and Jiffy Lube are in business because they know that the dealer body cannot do this. And this is not nuclear physics,
No, it's not.
you know?
I've seen this on the inside too, because it's like people would come in and say, hey, I need an oil change. Like, and if you work with people, most of the time you can work that oil change in the same day. Maybe not on a brand new vehicle now because, they have all these different covers and, things that they're trying their best to make sure that average Joe can't work on their vehicle, which I totally understand because they are losing market share every day. But it's like, try to drive the next oil change into the bay to get the vehicle inside so that you can have the upsell on whatever could else be wrong with it. And as a former tech, I've watched people go, well, I don't want an oil change. I make too much money during the day as far as hourly that I shouldn't be doing oil changes. And I'm like, you could ask any of my former service advisors, hey, give that car to me. I'll take it. I'll make my entire check in point two if I have to, because that's where all the money is. Like you were saying, those vehicles come in all the time. They need service. They don't always get service. So you're looking for those diamonds in the rough that come in that need 7 to 8, like $1,000 worth of work. Like, why not go ahead and get that vehicle in and get the next scheduled appointment set up, get them into a loaner vehicle, get them back onto the road and have their vehicle so you can repair it with an okay. It doesn't make any sense. And you're right. It does fall down to not understanding the animal that they're dealing with because they are just letting money fall right through their hands.
Right? Because if the dealer would understand it, or the general manager, I think the first thing that general manager would do is relocate their office
Yeah.
into the service drive, right?
Yes.
And just being physically present will change the entire dynamic. Because when you work in an unsupervised environment, right? Because your general
Mhm.
manager, the owner, doesn't really get involved in the shop. Service advisors, you know, are human beings, and they go
Yeah.
path of least resistance like anybody else. So a lot of times they wouldn't get up, they wouldn't do the walk around, right? Then the tech wouldn't do the MPI, or the tech wouldn't do the video,
Yeah.
right? And everything slips through your fingers. And you end up an order taker with a one line repair order. Customer requested an
Yeah.
oil change. That's it, you know? But if they understood what to look for and be physically present to check on it, right? I think the results would speak for themselves immediately.
Yeah. And there's definitely some places that do it well, but I think that it would help internally for them to hire persons like yourselves to come in and actually show them some of these things. Because I've been part of some of these role play service advising, type of a meetings where they would come in and bring a trainer in for a whole week, which is extremely smart because a week, I don't know, a week every quarter is probably best at this point because you do have quite a bit of turnover inside the dealership. But then also, honestly, like, get them trained to actually do the job that does bring in that revenue, like you're saying. And I just don't see it. I've worked at really large places that done zero training, and I've worked at one place that was a pretty large and up and coming place, but we were doing training. It seemed like we were doing more training than we were actually working on vehicles, people's vehicles. So it has to be a happy medium struck as well. But I've seen the things that you're talking about, and they're not pretty.
But the funny thing is that if you cross over to the sales department, I guarantee you that every dealership has a Saturday morning meeting where the
Hmm.
general manager is basically training his staff on the process, on how to handle objections, how to handle test drives,
Yes.
how to answer questions. But you would never see that same manager doing the same type of a training with the service advisors, which is insane, right? Because if
Yeah.
you're a general manager, the title implies that you're responsible for every single department,
Exactly.
and yes, it's a good idea to use outside trainers, but they're only there temporarily and they cost money.
Right.
So why not do the bulk of the work yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. And then get a tune up every now and again.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, it's mind boggling. It's almost like there are two silos, right?
Hmm.
That refuse to work together towards a common goal. Right. And the common goal is to sell as many cars as possible. So you have as many units in operation as possible. Right. So you can service as many cars as possible. Like, it's so black and white,
Yeah.
but most dealerships unfortunately don't see it that way. And a lot of times there's even animosity, right?
Oh, yes.
Which is so counterproductive.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Yeah, this the silo thing is definitely real, and it's been around since way before I ever decided to get into the automotive industry. It'll probably be here long after you and I are going too. But the
Right.
rivalries is hilarious. But the stuff that you're talking about inside the dealership, it involves real dollars and cents every day. But no one's found this unbelievable way of like actually making it work. Like I said, there's very few people that are able to kind of do both.
You know, I think, again, guys that came up through sales understand how much they can make per sale of the car.
Hmm.
They also understand how much they have to spend in advertising per vehicle sold. But I guarantee you, if you ask the same person, how much do they need to spend per repair order, customer labor repair order in advertising, they wouldn't be able to give you an answer. They wouldn't even be able to tell you what the advertising budget is for the service report. But you can wake them up in the middle of the night and ask them about the advertising budget for the sales department, and it'll be on the tip of their tongue, you know? So there needs to be an understanding, right, that the margins in fixed stops are unbelievable,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we
Way
talk
better than new car sales, especially.
75% markup on labor. Show me another business that has a 75% markup.
Yeah. There's very few.
Exactly. So you have to, once you understand that, it's not for the love of fixed stops, right? It's for the love of money. You should be doing it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. I took some notes down here. I want to grab in one of these here because in your book that you've written, and by the way, the audience, Max has written 5 different automotive books on the F&I and management, dealership management. This one here's this question surrounds the art and science of running a car dealership and also the definitive guide to F&I with shifting consumer habits towards digital retail and one price models. What are the biggest mindset shifts dealership principals need to make right now to protect and grow their gross profitability?
Listen, again, I will go back to fixed stops, right? Because it is such an easy move to make if you apply yourself, right? And I can connect it to the F&I and reinsurance world.
Hmm.
So I'm a big fan of a program that allows you to provide a lifetime warranty on customer pay labor repair orders. And that's
Yeah.
incredible, right? So now you can have a compelling message to advertise. You obviously should be able to retain your service customers after their factory warranty runs out. At the
Yes.
same time, you should be able to regain the customers that left you and went to Meineke or Midas or a local mechanic, because none of those places can provide a lifetime warranty.
Yeah. I'm seeing that in like the aftermarket world too, because like it used to be 12 months, 12,000 miles was like your service warranty, and that was it. Whatever we fixed, 12 months, 12,000 miles, whichever occurs first, that's what we're going to take care of for you. And now there's a lot of places that have shifted to 3 years, 36,000 miles. And like you're saying, if you grow that portion of your market where you can continually keep people coming back to you, they don't only just come back for those things. At some point, they end up buying other things. I mean, like bars and restaurants figured it out years ago. Like, put some little tapas plates together, put these things up on the bar, sell them for very little money, but people stay and buy the really expensive alcohol. They stay there and drink, and it's like like you said, it's like we don't understand, like we can't see the forest for the trees when it comes to automotive. And the same fact, I've mentioned this on multiple podcasts, but I think your idea hits. Mine was like, I want them to shift it all the way back to the manufacturer. Manufacturer, for a lot of new vehicles, you get one service, you might get three. First up front, that's what you get as part of buying the vehicle. But like the same program, but like my cost was shifted all the way to the manufacturer, they should pay for the first 8 or 10. Because if you don't keep people coming through the doors like you were mentioning. Like they just walk away. And like I said, why let people just walk away when they could be paying customers? They could be your paying customers. They don't have to be somebody else's paying customers. So that I think you're 100% accurate. Get them into the fixed ops side, get sales over there, let them see what happens each day. Let them see what the technicians go through, because
Yeah.
like techs look up front and they see sales just kind of, walking around. They're like, I don't know what any of those people do.
So I think, I totally agree with you that the manufacturers should include prepaid maintenance with
Yeah.
every vehicle purchase. The problem is that the manufacturer, even if they choose to do it, they choose not to do anything else. Meaning, people forget. And if you don't call them to remind them that they actually have the scheduled maintenance included in the price of the car, they will go to Jiffy Lube and pay for it. And if the manufacturer is not willing to make these reminders, whether it's text message, phone call, email, smoke
Mhm.
signal, whatever they have to do, right?
Yeah.
But to them, it's also a conflict because they think that if they don't come back, all that breakage becomes their profit, but you don't want to have any breakage. You want to have 100% utilization,
Yes.
So to me, again, there are a lot of things that the dealers can do now. And basically, I think we live in the age of Amazon, right? So you
Hmm.
and I don't really have to reinvent the wheel here. Why do we use Amazon? And I'll tell you why, right? Because it's super easy.
Yeah.
It's frictionless.
Yep. That's exactly
So
right.
you don't need to hire a consultant and sell you a website, right? You need to mystery shop your own website, pretend that you're a customer, and either pretend to schedule a service appointment or pretend to schedule a test drive or
Hmm.
pretend to buy a car online and see how far you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to,
Usually it's like 3 steps and you'll find some issue with the process. You're exactly right.
exactly. So, but nobody wants to inspect what you expect because it
Hmm.
is soul crushing, right? To find out that basically everything is broken and you're
Yeah.
looking at a monumental amount of work to fix it. So it's easy to put your head in the sand, right? And a lot of people got away with it for many years. And then COVID happened
Yeah.
and they were like, hey, I told you it's going to work. We don't have to do anything, and went into this COVID coma, you know,
Yeah.
but now you have to come out of it because the conditions now are way worse than they were before COVID. Because before COVID, interest rates were basically at a zero. So your floor plan expense was non existent. You were actually getting floor plan credits,
Yes.
right? Now your floor plan expense is through the roof. Your
Yeah.
payroll is
Definitely
through the
is.
roof because people make more now, right? Everything went up. Your insurance went up, right?
Yeah.
Everything went up. But the car sales are not there, and obviously the profits that were made during COVID are nowhere near what they're now.
Yeah. Those were
Yeah,
ballooned, big time ballooned.
exactly. And because they relaxed, they didn't take advantage of that opportunity, right? To really eliminate friction, right? And again, in most cases, all you have to do is just go to your website because nobody shows up in your dealership just like
Not
that.
anymore. Yeah.
Right.
Not
So
anymore.
to you, right? They did go to your website first.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely did.
make it super simple, right? And it's not. It's not simple, right? And again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Just try to plagiarize, right, from Amazon.
Yeah. Use what works.
Right. And I'll tell you a crazy story about Jeff Bezos, right? So he started Amazon selling books and then they got into other products. And he had a top secret project that only a few people knew about, where he decided to create Kindle
Okay.
and
Yep.
sell electronic books. And the idea is crazy, right? Because you're basically sabotaging your own business.
Yeah.
And I
Taking a
heard,
fire axe to it.
right? And he says, listen, you have to understand my logic. I'd rather me sabotage my business and find a solution than a competitor.
Yeah. Sooner or
You know,
later, somebody was coming up with that. You're exactly right.
exactly. So I think car dealers need to, have that same paranoid mentality and see what can happen, what my competitors can do to hurt me. And by the word competitor, right? It could be other dealers, it could be mechanics, it could be national chains, right? It could be Carvana, it could be
Yeah.
anybody, right? You need to be paranoid and stay ahead of the game.
Yeah. Carvana was the one that kept popping into my head this entire time because, like you're saying, frictionless, auto buying, that really is the one that pops to mind. They're the ones that made the gimmicky, hey, we're going to, you're going to be able to buy a vehicle from a vending machine, that type of that thought mindset. But you're right. It's like, why not go ahead and try to do that yourself and figure out where the sticking points are, where, how's it I'm going to be able to do this? Because honestly, I hadn't bought a new car in probably 5 to 7 years. And my wife and I recently just purchased. And I can tell you right now, I went into, okay, I'm setting out 4 hours at least because the last time I bought one was like six. It was the whole day. And that was buying a used car. So I'm like, I'm setting a block of 4 hours of time to go and pick this vehicle up and, sign all the paperwork and all those things that come along with it. And to be quite honest, to the dealership's credit, I was blown away. The buying process was mostly done over the phone. We'd only made one visit to the dealer physically. And then after that, we basically had everything already set up to go pick the vehicle up, showed up, and it was iPad. And I was like so happy to see that because it was a 40-minute buying process. We signed on the dotted line, started hitting the buttons to initial everything, and it was literally 40 minutes in and out.
But I think that's an exception, not the rule.
Well, it's definitely the exception.
And again, the funny things, about dealers is that, franchise laws make them super relaxed.
Yeah. There's a protector. Yeah, they've set up protectors everywhere.
And when Carvana first came out, every dealer was making fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody made any adjustments in their operations, right? Now, Carvana last month, right? They own a CDJR dealership.
Mm-hmm.
They finished number one in the country by selling 998 cars,
Yep,
which
I've
is
seen that in the
3
news.
times more than the second largest CDJR dealer, right?
Yeah.
And you would think if you're a car dealer, you got to go into a panic mode.
Yeah.
No.
Still not, huh? They just
No, they're like, whatever.
that's a
Never gonna-
one-off. That'll never happen to me.
Yeah, not in my area, like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, like, at one point, Blockbuster was doing the same thing to Netflix and Redbox. Like,
Yep.
no one's gonna swing by their local store and try to pick up a DVD out of a box, or no one's gonna have it mailed to them and mail it back when they're done with it. And then now look, it's like, yeah, they do it every day.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, that Carvana is going to move on and buy other franchises. So if you're
Certainly
a
will.
CDR dealer now, you should be in a panic mode, in a war room, thinking what to change in your business because they're going to come and get your customers.
Yeah, the
Right?
pivot's coming. The
Right.
pivot's coming, and whether they know it or not. So they better prepare for it.
Yeah. And listen, it will be logical for Carvana to acquire other franchises because once they prove the fact that they can sell CDJR at this insane volume, why not go into, other brands?
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because CDJR over the years, and I've got some family members that's worked inside of that belly of the beast. They've not been the best products. I used to joke with him all the time. I'm like, well, you're a glutton for punishment working on that stuff. He's like, well, I always have things to do. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you're right. It's like, why not start hitting the panic button now? Try to get out in front of it, because I mean, all business is a war of attrition at this point, and there's a lot of people that don't see it that way at all. Like you said, they're just kind of floating along, and they're happy to get 100 units a month or 200 units a month according to their market size, and they're just happy. They think they're making money, but like you said, the real play is in that really large buy up. So how many of those CDJR brands did they buy? How many dealers? Was it
I
one?
think there were one or two,
Sheesh.
but
And they
this is
smoked it like that?
yes, but it's only the beginning. And look at it
Yeah.
from the manufacturer's perspective, right? One thing
They love it.
they love it because
Yeah.
they franchise laws, right? So if there's nothing they can do to break the franchise laws, instead of dealing with 900 egos and personalities,
Yeah.
why not just deal with one or two?
Yep. Streamline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
kind of crazy.
yeah.
'Cause I was aware of the sales number, but I wasn't aware of how many actual brands, how many dealers that they had purchased. So yeah, if they're smoking at 2 to 1, that's really saying something. Because like you
And
said, I
this is
mean, people at
hey,
the manufacturers have to be on red alert now too. Like, hey, look at this. We don't have to, like you said, they don't have to deal with any of these other people now. We could just do that.
right, right. But this is just the beginning. Listen, if they sold 998 units last month, I don't think they're going to sell 100 units next month, right?
Right. No, they'll find a way.
They'll find a way. It'll be another thousand, right? And again, the dealers can be in denial, right? But eventually, right, there's 7 stages of grief, right?
Yeah,
The sooner you get to acceptance, the higher probability that there will be a dealership that you can actually leave to your children.
exactly. Yeah, some of these legacy things too I've watched. In the past, a long time ago, I listened to tons of Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about why it is that businesses after the second to the third generation start to fall off. I've watched that happen, and they usually split apart. They go into separate ways. They do a lot of legacy stuff, but man, have I seen the inside of those things turn into, I mean, it's practically a Greek tragedy. You know, it's like there's these fighting wars and all this stuff that's happening internally. And like you said, it doesn't get to the customer like it's supposed to be. It's like it's for the customer is why you're even there. Like without them showing up to purchase things, there's no reason to be there at all. But like you're saying now with this entire thing with Carvana, that's groundbreaking. I mean, it's an earthquake.
But
Everyone else is waiting to see the reverberations of it. It seems like,
but a lot of I mean, a lot of dealers will say, well, we don't have the resources of Carvana, or people don't want to buy cars online. But you can always come up with an excuse, right? So I would say the following. I would say, okay, you're right? Let's forget about sales. But I guarantee you that people would like to buy parts online, right? And
yeah,
I promise you that majority of people, when they need floor mats, actually buy them from Amazon,
yeah, oh, yeah.
right?
I've
Because the
I've went through
deals,
this myself. I have a credit at the dealer, and I won't use it yet because the wife and I are still talking about, do I want to spend $160 and get 35 back, or do I want to spend $100 and get a set that are just like the ones that you're trying to sell me? Like,
right? But you see, with the dealer, still there's a lot of friction. You probably have to go
yeah,
there. With
yep,
Amazon, click and it's at your house tomorrow, right?
yeah. No, you're
So,
exactly right. You need to make it convenient for your customer to actually buy from you.
right. So if the dealers, want to understand e-commerce, I
Hmm.
definitely wouldn't start by selling cars online, but I would start by selling parts online, and you
Yeah, it
can
makes
be
sense.
open 24 hours a day, right? Like Amazon.
Sure.
But again, it's almost impossible to get this done.
Yeah, it's people are just stubborn. I mean, stubborn, just completely stubborn.
Yeah. But I think selling parts online, you can, first of all, you're expanding your market, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, like
I
you
have,
said, just in the
right,
very beginning, you're open longer. So
right,
automatically you would make more money.
right. And if I need these floor mats, right, and maybe you're located 100 miles away, I don't care, right? You have them, you can ship them to me, right? So you can sell on a national level, right? Because these floor mats fit the car in Kentucky the same way it fits the car in Ohio, right? It's not like we have different emissions, or title work. Like this is 100% e-commerce ready if you apply yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's a good starting point, at least to get them involved in selling the vehicle online as well, like that.
Right. Right. But I don't think majority of dealers are actively selling parts online.
No, definitely not. It's the same thing as with that. It's like most of the stuff ends up being aftermarket or some other company, buys the licensing and they start building it and then they start shipping it out. Because I mean, there's no end to how many aftermarket parts companies there are that build similar components. Moog, Dorman, all these other places that build this type of stuff and send it out. You're right.
Yeah. So it's 2026, right? We're talking about selling parts online like as if we discovered America.
Right. It's sad, really. I mean, if you look at it, it's like, why hasn't someone come up with like, hey, let's start this?
Yeah. And again, there's no urgency.
Right. Just floating along.
Yeah.
So I got this other one here too that I wanted to hit on. So after 20 years, 20 plus years in the car industry, leadership and the human side of business. So how does someone take the things that you and I've talked about and start to try to apply them to their teams? Because I know that you've done quite a bit of training. You have your own training company where you go out and do this stuff. You've written all these books. Uh, Sometimes it's easier to lead a horse to water than it is to get them to drink, correct? But what's maybe two things? What's two things that you would tell them on the human side of actually getting people to do this?
So I think the first thing is that you have to almost have a fanatical belief that you're correct in your assumptions. So let's say, I'm a general manager or I'm a dealer principal. I will have a meeting with my, let's say, parts department and say, guys, I believe that in 12 months, we will be the number one part seller in the United States. I don't care about how small the local town is or what our inventory levels are or what our knowledge of e-commerce is, right? First, believe me that it's possible. And once you believe me, let's come up with a plan and show me incremental growth. I'm not saying let's go from zero to hero,
Right.
but let's do it within a year. And the reason I'm saying within a year is because it gives you enough time to make every single mistake possible, right?
Exactly.
So that would be the first thing, right? Make them believe. And the
Hmm.
second thing, what most dealers do not understand, right, is that a lot of employees at the car dealership will tell you that they're there for a paycheck and they're motivated by money. It is not true. You have to find another way to incentivize people to do things, right? And personal recognition, right? Or team building, dinners, lunches, golf
Sure.
outings, softball games, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? You have to do that, right? And that
Yeah.
goes way further than any bonus in dollars and cents.
One of the things that I've seen work is people that they come into the dealer and they go, hey, if you work and you hit a certain production bonus, like here's one of the things that we'll do. We'll actually give you more time off as opposed to maybe the money side of it. We'll give you more paid time off if you reach these things. Because a lot of times people would like to spend more time with their family and they can't, especially coming from the service side of things. Sales is no different. Sales is there for a really, really long time, a lot of times too. But like sometimes it would be nice if you could bank a little more than what you normally were getting on your paycheck every week as far as time off or paid time off. So,
Listen, I think every large corporation figured this out a long time ago. You
mhm,
go to McDonald's and there's a plaque for the employee of the month.
yep,
You go into a service department or a sales department, there is no guarantee that there is a plaque for the employee of the month,
that's
right?
definitely true.
It doesn't cost. I mean, how much does it cost? Trust me. We're talking about $20, $30.
Yep,
But the recognition and the good feeling to be that employee and to strive
yeah,
to become employee of the month, it is so inexpensive and so easy to implement. And instead, they will just say, hey, you sell a car today, here's a $500 bonus.
right. Here's this money.
Yeah. And the reason for the, employee of the month or for having HR policies that are dedicated to hiring good people and retaining them is to reduce turnover. Because if you
Yes.
can't turn over people, you'll never accomplish anything, right? Because you're going to spend your time retraining new hires,
Yeah.
right?
I think some years ago, I think there was a study that was done. I think BMW actually done a study. It was like $55,000 to replace any one person across the entire company in training. In lost revenues like it. And people, I watch it all the time. The same thing you're talking about, this turnover wheel that keeps spinning around. All they have to do is keep the people that they have and get them trained to a position where, is everyone going to make it in this industry? They're not. That's just, it is the way it is. But not everybody makes it in any industry. That's the whole point. Sometimes people fall into this niche where they don't realize that, hey, I could be doing that over there and do a lot better job of it. But honestly, like you're saying, like keep keep the people that you've already hired.
Yeah. And again, nobody has any policies to do that. It's a constant struggle, right? And every dealer will tell you that they're constantly looking for people, right? And
Yeah.
nobody wants to look in the mirror and ask yourself a simple question. What happened to all the other people that you hire
Yep.
over the years? Where are they?
Yeah.
They can't all be bad.
Right. Yeah.
Y-
Something else has to be the problem.
Right. Right. But
Yeah. I
listen,
think,
denial is a powerful motivator.
yeah. I think the exit interview is one of the ones that I've always watched it. I think I've only ever in my entire life had two exit interviews in my entire life. Were working for as long as I have in this industry. And I asked the place one time, I was like, I'm watching people leave at like one person a month, you know, and that's for a place that only had about 30 people that did what I did. One person a month's quite a bit. And I'm like, I brought it to HR's attention. I'm like, hey, have you ever guys noticed like what exactly's happened? Like, has anyone asked the question? What happens here? Why is it that people show up and they could come from states away? Why do they show up and why do they end up leaving within the first 12 months? It can't always be just because they're not chalked up for this type of work. And they're like, well, we do exit interviews. And I'm like, I'm inside the belly of the beast. I know that no one does exit interviews. Everyone in management just floats it off like, yes, it's got to be their problem. It can't be us.
Yeah. 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 He was no good anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's no good anyways. But you're exactly right. I think that there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. Like you said, for years and years, you see these things that are put up on the wall for people that even at McDonald's, but then you could walk through the service department and other than somebody's softball trophy on their own toolbox that they've done, after hours, you may not know any of the people that work in the back whatsoever. And it's the same in sales. When you walk through, you may not know exactly what's going on anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
So
recognition at all.
the sad part is that all of those things have been invented. There
Mhm.
are tons of books written on the subject, right? So nobody has to start from zero, right?
Right.
All you have to do is implement successful strategies that other successful companies have been using. That's it. Treat it like a real business.
Yeah. Sadly, and they don't a lot of times. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see. So here's another one. This one's a pretty big one. I just read a story the other day about a guy left the country. He's a service advisor. Seems like monies have seemed to have been charged, and the guy has skipped the country. He's nowhere around. There's like, I think his office got raided by 6 different sheriff's departments. So this comes down to compliance and making sure that those that are in charge are people that can be in charge and have some internal dealership audits, I guess, some forensics audits even that make sure they're protecting the consumer, they're protecting the customer. So on compliance and long-term wealth building, so compliance issues can sink a place. And I've watched this happen with warranty a couple different times. $100,000 had to pay back to the manufacturers. No fun game to have to play. But you felt many people build wealth and dealerships, especially. What's some of the mistakes that you see them make, and what's one thing that they do that's correct?
Well, the most obvious mistake is that nobody knows how many parts they have in stock.
Sure.
They do hire a third party maybe once a year to
Hmm.
do the physical inventory. And every time they do it, it's like a surprise. Yeah. Either stuff is missing or it's completely obsolete. So, listen, it's good to do these inventories, these audits on an annual basis, but why
Hmm.
not do them internally all the time?
Yeah.
I tell dealers that your parts department is not a parts department, it's a fish store, right? And if you don't sell the fish, it goes bad and you have to throw it out, right? You can't wait a year for an audit.
No, that doesn't make any sense. I've never understood that myself.
And then you're like, oh my God, there's a parts manager who's basically selling parts on eBay, right? Stealing all the parts right under your nose. it's just, to me, this is again so obvious. You don't have to be a detective, right? But you have to understand that you're tying up real dollars when you buy inventory. And if you don't earn it, what are you going to do with it? It loses value. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the
And you'll
cars
never know
depreciate per day.
it, right? Unless you do these parts audits basically perpetually.
Yeah. That's a good point. I like the perpetual model, to be honest. I mean, you bring that up. It's a lot of places. I wouldn't say a lot of places. I would say very few places do a daily audit. And one of the places I worked at, and that's one out of many places I worked at over the years. One place that I ever worked at talked about, hey, we're doing A through B today, and we're going down through and we're putting hands-on actual components and actual parts on the shelf to make sure that we're keeping up with inventory. One place. I've worked a lot of places. So one place is the only place I ever was at. So I think you're right. I think there's probably a lot of stuff that's either going out the door on Craigslist, eBay, wherever you want to pick it, Facebook Marketplace. But I think that dealers, dealer principals, people that are up front, like you were saying, like having some hands on of the entire business, making sure you make it to the departments during the day, being there, having a presence, I think slows some of that. But I think also going online and checking. I mean, I've been at a place before where every now and again I would go online and check what jobs are they listing? What jobs are they listing at this place? And I was able to find out that I wasn't working at the Audi store no more, but I found out that the Audi service manager was on the chopping block. Like when your job goes up on the internet, it's probably time for you to look somewhere else because they're getting ready to replace you. Whether you still work at the company or not, you're getting replaced where you are. So I've seen that happen, but I don't think there's many people that are listening out there that decide, hey, I should go and look to see if anyone's selling components from this store. Things that could be here, things that people that work here. No one's doing that, I would guess. That's a
Yeah.
simple one, I think. Doesn't take that much time.
Yeah. That's why, you got to mystery shop everything, every
Hmm.
process. And the goal is not just to get disappointed, right? The goal is to fix each and every process. So for example, if I call a parts department and I can't get a parts counterman on the phone, it's over, right?
Yeah,
It
people
doesn't
don't
matter
stick
if you
around on
have
hold.
luck, right? If I'm going into voicemail or just it keeps ringing, or even if I leave a voicemail and nobody calls me back, right? That's it. You lost the battle, right?
Yep.
That customer
Yeah,
is
that person's
immediately
gone.
going to move on and call another place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So on the personal, so key control and personal side in the front of house, keeping people's documents secure, we'll say, what's some things that you've seen people do that were good? And then maybe we've all kind of seen like someone's just paperwork just laying around, but what's a good way to do document control if you're up front, making sure that no one can take people's
Again,
information?
everything trickles down, right?
Hmm.
So if the dealer understands that they have a responsibility to safeguard non-public information,
Yeah.
then they will make sure that their managers understand that, and the managers will make sure that salespeople and finance managers understand that. But I'll give you, example from a real life. I can go to a dealership to do a compliance audit, and the first thing I do, I just go to a printer. I open the printer, and there's a copy of a driver's license right there. Right? We can stop right here, right? Like if you can't figure this out, everything else is going to be rotten.
Yeah. No, you're right. I've seen that actually happen. I've been inside of a dealership and someone done that one day. It's like, oh, look, someone left your driver's license here.
Right. And, this logic applies to everything. A lot of times we're talking about, in this case, a lot of it has to do with physical security, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of F&I offices don't even have locks and keys.
Which is
They just don't,
crazy to even think about.
right? Or they lost the key, right? So the fact that there is a lock is kind of meaningless, right? Or, if there's a password on the employee's desk, I mean, there's a
Yeah,
sticky
taped down.
note. right? With a password on it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is
If you
unbelievable.
can't find out how to get in, you just lift the keyboard up. Oh, there it is.
Right. And also a lot of it has to do with common sense, right? Because people that are determined to steal non-public information, they can do it electronically, but that would be their last resort, right? Because it's so much easier to do it in real life,
Yeah.
right?
On site. Yeah.
We'll give you an example. Let's say this guy comes into the dealership and if he says, I'm here from Verizon to check on your routers, right?
Sure.
I guarantee you 99% of dealerships will take him to the closet and that's it. Nobody's going
Yep.
to ask him for an ID. Nobody's going to call Verizon and verify that they sent out a technician. There'll be none of that. And this guy's just going to connect to every server in the dealership and walk out with all the information, shake everybody's hand, say, thank you for your time, right? And it's over.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So a lot of people don't think about that either. That even people that are inside every day that walk around, they don't think about any of that. Like there should be some type of threat assessment that they go through, and a lot of coaching for people that are inside of the dealer itself to like, hey, here's how we treat other people's documents. Here's how we treat other people's personal information. Like one of the ones I like to share is like, especially for technicians, like if you have someone's regular repair order, not electronic repair order, but electronic repair order is no different. They shouldn't be left up on the screen. If you're using it, that's fine. Take it back down. But on the repair order side, like just paper ones, like I always made sure I put them inside of that one drawer that everybody knows about in the toolbox that has the sliding door on top of it. And it's like, just put them there during the day while you're there. And then if you have to lock up, take those back out, hand them back to your advisor. That way it's 100% back on somebody else. It's not on you. But sadly, you can walk through a dealership all day long. And even with the laws that are put into place, you can still see stuff laying everywhere, which is wild. And there's no security. Like, there's a time a long time ago, one of our main dealer principals told us, hey, why is it like no one's trying to get anybody in here? Why are we not recruiting other people? And the rule was like no one wanted to work there. That was the actual problem. But it was like, hey, go out there and get some people. So I took that to heart. I'm like, yeah, I'll go try to find some people. So I grabbed my iPad one day. I threw on a nice Michael Jordan, just the outer, just a jacket. I looked like a salesperson. So I walk in, like, I look like an outside sales guy from like a parts store. I walk in, I know how to get into the dealership in the back. I walk through the service door, walk in, hey, how you guys doing? No one knows me from anybody. I'm there like 35 minutes, walking around talking to Volkswagen techs. Hey, how you doing today? Oh, not too bad. And they just talk to me and I'm like, hey, looking for other people, come and work. If you're interested, here's a business card. So I just leave, my information basically on a post-it note. And when the guy where I was at found out about it, he's like, well, how did you get in? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I get in? Like, I just walked in. Like, it was simple. Like, I dressed like an outside salesperson from like a Napa store
Right?
and I walked in. No actual nomenclature on me. I just walked in. I looked like I was supposed to be there. And I said, it was simple, really. I said, it was kind of scary because I was there 40 minutes. No one ever said a word to me. I left of my own volition. So that kind of stuff sadly does happen still. I guarantee that there's somebody out there that, like you said, all you got to do is walk in and look the part, smile, and walk in and walk right back out. And they might have just walked out with the internet scrape.
Exactly. Exactly. And, again, everything trickles down, right? So if the dealer understands, right, that they will be financially liable
Yeah.
and that fine is no joke, right? Then there'll be a
No.
sense of urgency. But, the more I work in automotive, the more I understand the psychological profile of a car dealer. And these guys are super cavalier, which is, I guess, the necessary requirement, to be type A personality and make decisions
Yes.
quickly. But when you're that cavalier, you really believe that, yes, it could happen, but not to me.
Right. Exactly. It's always someone else that's going to happen to. It's not going to be me.
Right. And once you realize that it could happen to you, yeah, I think you become way more cautious.
Yeah. Yeah, even with the warranty side of it, I've seen multiple places get hit with warranty audits just because process really most of it was process. It wasn't even the fact of shrink or shrinkage of any type. It wasn't people stealing. It was literally a technician wasn't following some process. And then over time, that starts to add up. And I've seen places get hit with $100,000, payback, like I was saying.
And
A lot of
manufacturers
people,
know that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's they do
They
these
kind of
work.
build it. I bet they build it into their actual model, I would think. Like they know it's
Exactly.
going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, listen, I think right now, like if the dealer is not using an AI for warranty claim submissions, they're leaving money on the table, and I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but it's a good
Right.
start. And you
Yeah,
no
maybe
longer
run it through and find out, send it to a secondary person to take the actual put eyes on it and that kind of thing.
right. But like majority of these warranty submissions are tedious, repetitive work,
Yeah,
right? And if you have an
I've
in-house
booked warranty of 5 different manufacturers. I know exactly what you're saying.
right. And if you have an
No
in-house
fun.
warranty administrator, right? What happens if that person leaves?
Yep,
Like you're in shambles.
yep. Yeah, you just left out. It's left twisting in the wind at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So again, the tools are there, right? You gotta have that paranoid mentality. I think there was the book called Only the Paranoid Survive, right? And
sounds like a great title.
right, and I think it was written by the former CEO of Intel,
Okay.
and he said, listen, this is how I built the company, just by being paranoid. And
Yeah.
it's okay, but again, because of franchise laws or because of COVID profits or for whatever reason, that level of paranoia, it is not existent in, in the franchise dealership model for
Well, it's
majority of
yeah.
dealers.
I was say it's no wonder that Carvana come in and done what they did then. Because I mean, it's a target rich environment at this point. Because I mean, if you could just come in and do that, it makes a lot of sense. Why
Right.
not
And
do it?
if nobody's going to do anything to defend their positions, then, if you're sitting in Carvana, right, it would be the same as sitting at Jiffy Lube, right? Deep inside, you know that the dealers can fight back, but they won't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right though too. It's like they think too much on that sales side. Like, hey, we're here to flood the market with this product, but like you said, it at some point that just runs out. That doesn't make sense to continue doing that. You got to keep people coming back to the dealer also, not just to purchase.
Right. And that goes, to the advertising budget, right? Like the dealer is
Hmm.
willing to spend X amount of dollars, let's say $500 a car, $700 a car to get a new customer. But how much are you spending on the existing customers to bring them back? Like there's no easier thing than selling to an existing customer.
Yeah, yeah, they've already purchased from you once.
Right. So either bring them back to service or bring them back into sales, but all the effort goes out to get new customers. So
Hmm.
every transaction becomes like a one night stand.
Yep.
There's no lifetime value that the dealer assigns to the customer.
Yeah. It's kind of strange. It's almost like they take it all for granted, like you're saying. Like, just keep them there. Make sure that they keep coming back there. I like the fact that you brought up the loyalty part of it and like sell them a lifetime warranty on their vehicle that keeps them coming back to that one dealership. Because I think that's a huge hook that people they don't pay attention to. Because like you said, if the manufacturer is going to be fine with doing it, like that doesn't keep them coming back to your dealer though. So if you got somebody in F&I that could say, hey, look, you can bring that vehicle back here and here's what you're able to purchase. That's one of the smartest things I think that a dealership probably could do.
Yeah. And now I have dealers implementing this lifetime warranty on the repair
Mhm.
war.
Yeah.
And it's completely automated through DMS. So there is no salesmanship. It's included in the price of the parts or labor, right? And it funnels out everything under $200. right? And everything over $200, including brakes and batteries, is covered for a lifetime, right? So now, right, the customer has no reason to go to an independent mechanic because they cannot provide that warranty, right?
Yeah, through a DMS, you can set it up on text, like you were saying, and that way that they're reminded,
Yeah,
like, hey, don't take it somewhere else. You don't have to. You can bring it to us.
right. And it shows right on the repair order. So let's say there are 5 lines and the warranty is applicable to 3 out of 5. It'll only apply to those 3 lines. But it's in plain English. It says parts and labor are covered for as long as you own the vehicle. So if you know that, why would you go anywhere else?
Right. So one last question I want to ask you, and this is a little bit off the beaten path. You've written multiple books now, 5 on automotive. For those that are out there that want to write a book on this type of topic or any topic really, what's some of the pitfalls that you've run into as someone who has been an author now for quite some years? What's some of the things that you've done or some of the things that you've seen happen that you would do differently now?
Well, first of all, I think everybody should have this on their bucket list to write a book.
Hmm.
It's super rewarding,
Sure.
right? And I think the biggest mistake I've made is that I waited too long. I should have done it sooner,
I can see that.
and if you know what you're talking about, right? You're still gonna have because listen, at the end of the day, if you write a book and it doesn't sell,
Hmm.
right? It's not about the money, right? Because you don't make money selling books, right?
Right.
If it doesn't sell, it means nobody is interested because the information is no good, right? So it would be like a soul crushing experience, right? But you have to overcome that fear if you believe, right? Like I told you before, if you have this fanatical belief, right, that you're correct and you know what you're talking about, do it, right? And the market will prove to you whether you know what you're talking about or you don't,
Exactly.
right? So, and do it as soon as possible. As long as you feel that you know the subject matter, do it, because you're going to be rewarded internally, but you're also going to make a lot of people's lives easier by showing them the shortcut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, I think a lot of people, maybe it's because we're not in a period of time, it seems like, where people read a lot, but a lot of people don't realize that most of the people and the authors that you know of today that, from history, a lot of the books that they wrote didn't hit it right out of the gate. Like sometimes it was years or even after their death before they ever became famous as actual authors. So I think
That's
you're right
exactly
about
right.
the whole point of just do it and right now.
Yeah. You know that Van Gogh never sold a single painting in his life,
Yep.
not one.
Yeah.
And now, like, they're, 50, $100 million paintings.
Yep.
So, I think he had that fanatical belief that he had the right vision and he, was proven right over time.
But yeah, I mean, the aesthetic, people finally started seeing like, oh, this is groundbreaking, really, the things that he was doing with art and
Yeah.
paints
And obviously,
that
he didn't do it for
people
the
have
money.
never, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did it, just did it like you were saying. So it's kind of, it's definitely not obvious. It seems obvious, but it's not obvious. So, why it is that people do wait so long. The thing that like the Dostoevskys of the world and the other one that really comes to mind is Friedrich Nietzsche. Like
Yeah.
Nietzsche didn't write like his first book, I think he wrote when he'd become professor, and it didn't take off at all. And you think, I'm a professor, like I'm teaching people, I automatically have an audience. Not really. Like
Yeah.
they're paying to come and learn from you, but they're not really there to like be your audience. So it's like he thought that and then it crushed him. And I think a lot of it comes down to people don't want to be crushed.
Right.
But
Right.
I think it makes you a better person after that crush happens in many cases, because it definitely might wake you up to maybe some facts about yourself. And sometimes people don't, especially in this modern age where everything's going through these filters of noise, like the internet and all these other things. People don't want to know who they are. They themselves do not want to know who they are.
Yep. Yeah. So again, listen, if you have the information that you know
Hmm.
in and out, right, you should definitely put it on paper. And I'm telling you, you'll feel good about it and you'll make somebody's lives easier and it's very rewarding. And I did it 5 times and each time it felt the same, meaning that it's super rewarding. And believe me, if it was a failure and I would be crushed, it 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 probably would be good for me, right? That means that I would have to reevaluate the way I look at car business.
Yes.
But the market proved me right. So thanks God.
Yeah. Things got better. So self publish or publish with a publisher. And I'll leave that one as the
I
last
think at
question.
this point, you got to self publish, right? You can be in control of your own destiny. And the advice I will give is that if you write a book, make it available in every format.
Yes.
You know, I personally stopped reading books the second I discovered audiobooks.
Yep. I'm the same way at this point. I read for pleasure, but like most of the time I'm listening to a book.
Right. And all of my books are available as a paperback, audiobook, and a Kindle,
Hmm.
right? Because who am I to say, that it should be this way? It should be available in every single format and everybody digests information differently. And that's it. And we all spend time in our car or at the gym. And that's when people
Yeah.
listen to or
Yeah. And
podcasts.
a lot of times if they're in that diffuse mode, they actually pick up more than if they're trying to focus too hard on things too. And I think people overlook that.
Yeah.
So on that note, drop a plug at least maxzanan.com. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my website. And, I provide reinsurance, F&I products, income development for car dealers. And unlike other companies in the market space that solely focus on F&I,
Hmm.
as a former general manager, I understand that there is no such thing as F&I in a silo, right? So in order for the F&I department to be successful, you need to have a successful sales department. And believe me, you need to have a successful parts and service department because all of these things are interconnected. And if your F&I department is successful, but the other departments are not, it is meaningless. So I take a holistic look at dealerships operations, because it's easy to come in and say, hey, I'm going to increase your PVR by $100. I'm going to train your finance managers. They're going to memorize some word tracks. But
Sure.
does it really matter, if your service retention is non-existent, right? Or if they're selling a VC without the disappearing deductible, right?
Sure. Yeah. It makes no sense at all. Like you're saying.
Yeah.
And then Max Zanan on all socials. Is that correct?
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
Yeah. I'm on
Facebook, all those
LinkedIn. I'm
places.
on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You got to be everywhere. It's like I told you about the book format. You got to be everywhere because people consume information in mysterious ways. It,
Exactly.
and whenever somebody says, hey, TikTok is for kids, who am
Only
I?
if it's used that way. Yeah. It's like, it's a tool. It's like a tool. It's like anything else. It's a tool. So
And there are plenty of adults that are on TikTok and there are plenty of adults that are on Instagram.
yeah, exactly. So just for the listeners, this is the second time that I've went global. So the first person that was on was Bob from RMS Diagnostics for Automotive Diagnostics. He's in jolly old England. Max comes to us from Spain today. So Max is 6 hours ahead of us. So if you want someone to hate on, it's Max. Max is in Spain hanging out right now. So I had to at least
Yeah,
drop that
I
in there.
do
So
all
that's
my
two
business in the
times,
United States. Yeah.
2 times exactly. So, hey, I really appreciate you coming on. Definitely would like to do it again. Always like to try to get people back on interesting perspectives because most of the time we're talking with other stuff, other areas of the automotive industry, but very few people come on so far with the sales or the F&I side of it. So I really appreciate you coming on and I hope that you would be a guest again someday. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your time today and appreciate what you've done for the automotive industry.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Max.